Vidhammer Fantasy.
Welcome back to Vidhammer. I'm Spudlow, and this video is the third round matchup at, not my third round matchup, because I wasn't playing in the third round. I was just watching at this point, because I sucked it up in the first two rounds. But this is the third round game that I recorded at the Darkside Comics tournament in September 2013. This is 2,350 points, if I'm not mistaken, and this is between the Ogre Kingdoms and the Dark Elves. Now, the gentleman playing the Ogre Kingdoms is actually Bob Shippey, who's leading up Crucible 3. Check it out at crucibleorlando.com if you haven't already. And he's got a block of Mournfang cavalry, which do probably 90% of the game. And for the Dark Elves, the Hydras do probably 75% of their offense. So this is one of those games where the special units that you throw in there really count for a lot. It was a fun game to watch and enjoyed doing the video and everything. Hope you guys enjoy it. And here it comes.
This round is a meeting engagement scenario, so they'll have to roll for reserves on each side. There are also bonus points at the end of the game for controlling the different pieces of terrain. The Dark Elf player wins the roll for board edge and elects to take the right side. She rolls for reserve and all of the units end up coming on the board. There's crossbowmen behind the building. Cold One Riders are actually Dark Riders. There's executioners below the house and corsairs above, along with the dragon and the template, which are stand-ins for Hydras. She has two casters, a level 4 and level 2. Between the two of them, they end up with all the spells from Dark Magic. For the Ogres, the BSB is the only one that starts in reserve, and just going up the line from left to right. There's a unit of 6 Lead Belchers, I believe 6 Man-Eaters next to them, the Horde formation unit of 12 Bulls, Iron Blaster, 4 Mournfang Cavalry, and then Saber Tusks on the end caps. Has a level 2 caster that has Bullgorger and Toothcracker. Ogres steal the first turn roll and start off by moving the BSB on the board, joining the large unit of Bulls as pretty much their only movement. Magic ends up 9 versus 6. He goes 4 dice for Bullgorger at the higher level, and she lets it go. This gives +1 strength to the unit. Then 5 for Toothcracker, but it gets dispelled. In shooting, the Lead Belchers shoot for the Executioners and end up scoring 6 wounds. The Iron Blaster gets set up for a shot on the Executioners, but he had the Chili Reinos for lunch. Don't light a match, but someone does, and he blows up. Oof. On to the Dark Elves' turn. The Crossbowmen move into the house. The Dark Riders try to move up to block the Mournfang Cavalry from charging the Corsairs. This is a strategy that she's got that she ends up changing a little bit later on, but we worked out the actual logistics of it and put the Dark Riders where they needed to be so the Mournfang wouldn't make the charge. The Hydras swing around the flanks as the only other movement. Me trying to assist and be helpful. So by proxy, I kind of helped take the loss in this game. Not that I'm proud of that. On to Magic, it's 6 versus 4. She uses 4 dice for Black Horror on the Bulls, but it gets dispelled with a scroll. Then she goes 2 for Word of Pain on the Mournfang, and this gets dispelled with all of his dice. Last die, she uses Chill Wind on the Lead Belchers, causes 1 wound, and makes it so they can't shoot next phase. Very sneaky. On to shooting, the character from the Crossbowmen is actually able to target the lower Saber Tusk and kill it off. The rest of the unit shoots for the Lead Belchers and gets 1 wound. I don't know exactly what loadout or ability that character's got that lets them target a different unit, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Leave a comment if you know what that rule is. On to turn 2 for the Ogres. The Mournfang charge the Dark Riders, and she chooses to flee. And they redirect into the Corsairs, who decide to stand and shoot. and get 2 wounds on the Mournfang. Not sure why she abandoned the strategy she was going for, but see if it pays off here. I'm not really sure how the game would have gone differently if she'd held the charge with the Dark Riders, but well, who knows. After the wounds, the Mournfang make the distance to the Corsairs, and the rest of the Ogre units kind of move up and jostle a bit on the lower side. Coming into Ogre's Magic, it's 7 versus 8 due to 2 actual channels. Nice shot. 4 dice for Bullgorger on the bulls, gets to spell with 5 dice, and then 3 dice for Toothcracker, but the spell fails. There's no shooting. Leadbelchers can't fire, and so we go into combat. The Mournfangs do 8 wounds and impact hits. Corsairs are able to finish off a single Mournfang. Then they take 10 from regular attacks and 3 from stomps. Those Mournfang are just nasty. Corsairs end up losing the combat, but they're stubborn, so they pass their break test and stick around for another round of a wonderful beating, because they didn't get enough the first time, apparently. Over to the Dark Elves. The Dark Riders rally. Other units close in a bit here. So I wonder why she chose to have the upper Hydra go around the Saber Tusk rather than just charge it, hit it, and overrun through it. But I don't know. I think she didn't want to waste her time on it, but sometimes just charging and going through works out a little better for you. Magic ends up 4 versus 2. She takes 2 dice for Blade Wind on the Mournfang, which causes a single wound. Then another 2 dice for Word of Pain on the Mournfang. And the Ogre player actually kept his Dispel dice for Word of Pain, but she rolls double 6s, takes the Mournfang down to Weapon Skill 1, but unfortunately gets the miscast, which takes out 9 crossbowmen, and then the Sorceress gets sucked into the void. I think that happens statistically half the time, but realistically 9 out of 10 times. Shooting, the crossbowmen shoot for the bulls and are able to get a single wound on them. Over to combat, where the Corsairs get 4 wounds, and they all get saved on the Mournfang. And the Mournfang hit for a total of 13 after their mounts and regular attacks and stomps. Corsairs lose the battle, and this time they're not stubborn. They end up failing the break test and getting caught when they run. Over to turn 3. The Ogre's movement is a little off-standard here. He kind of moves some things and moves them back and kind of ends up putting them just kind of where they need to be. Important to remember that the crossbowmen are not sitting out there. They're actually inside the building. Magic is 8 versus 6. Elves have no caster left. He takes 5 dice for Toothcracker, gets Irresistible, kills off 1 Maneater and 4 wounds to the bulls, and then he gets sucked into the void. No more magic. Leadbelchers shoot for the Executioners for 6 wounds, and they pass their break test. There's no combat, so we're on to Dark Elves' turn. Lower Hydra charges the Leadbelchers, who choose to flee, and then she redirects into the Maneaters. The Dark Riders charge the Bull's flank. Why not? It's kind of a light brigade situation, but hey. The top Hydra closes in some around the Saber Tusk because the Ogre player forgot to move it. Crossbowmen move out of the building and the Executioners move in. And that was to try to get the Executioners out of being charged by the Mournfang. So, by moving the crossbowmen out the far side, the Executioners can move in. There's no magic for no casters, there's no shooting, so they go to combat, where the Hydra actually takes the Maneaters down to a single wound. That's pretty badass rolls for the Hydra. And the Hydra takes a single wound in return. Maneaters end up running and getting caught. Nom 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 nom. Over behind the house, there's actually a combat, or perhaps a really, I don't know, bizarre crack deal or something going on back there. But 3 riders die to the champion's attack and 1 more in regular attacks. The ogres take a couple of wounds. Dark riders end up fleeing, and the ogres just sit back and say, "Man, we got some good shit." Public service announcement. Cyber Kitty says, "Don't do drugs, kids. And don't click on my head." Alright, over to whatever turn this is. Bulls charge the crossbowmen, who flee and get caught. Dark Riders flee again, I'm not entirely sure why. Leadbelchers reform to face the Hydra, Cyber Tusks move up and all that good stuff. Snow magic, Leadbelchers shoot for the Hydra and kill it off. Snow magic, so it flies over to Dark Elves. Hydra charges Saber Tusk. Executioners move out far side of building. Dark Riders rally towards the end. No magic or shooting. Combat, Hydra kills Cyber Tusk. Saber Tusk. Cyber Tusk? Yeah, good stuff. Turn 5. Mournfang charge Dark Riders. The Bulls turn toward the Hydra. Then we go over to shooting. Leadbelchers shoot Executioners for 6 wounds, and they pass their panic test. Combat, the Mournfang kill the Dark Rider in impact hits. Then over to Dark Elves. Movement, Hydra moves up. Executioners charge the Leadbelchers. Why not? Getting toward the end. Shooting, the Hydra actually unleashes its breath weapon into the Bulls and actually does 2 wounds. A little bit of stuff. Hydra finally got to do some goodness. There he goes. Then over to combat, the Executioners and the BSB, who has the Always Strikes First banner, are able to kill off 3 of the Leadbelchers, and then they take 3 from attacks and stomps. Ogres end up losing the combat by 1, I believe, and they run and get caught. And the Executioners run off the field and say, "Hey, we did our job. We're never coming back again." So, there you go. That's where they call the game. Ogres end up taking the win and getting some of the terrain piece scores. And that was round 3. Hope you guys liked it. Leave comments and subscribe and all that good stuff. Until next time, you guys keep fighting.